Buddy, it's hard in the restaurant here with the sunlight here. The sun's coming out, and it's hard to get the sunlight here to get here. So I'm trying to do this so it's, and luckily nobody behind me in the restaurant here that can actually do this one here. So this chapter about understanding American Americans, or yeah, American Americans, is about the topic of management and leadership, which actually in a different book I explained the difference between management and leadership in a very specific context. And I explained the kind of people that you need to actually be able to do that. And I might do a little bit of overlap here, but I want to do it in a very specific way about talking about Americans. And this is um, uh, other other countries. I've seen other countries actually struggle with this whole concept of management versus leadership, and then management and leadership, because these are two different topics. So I'm going to kind of address this. I might actually, well, the other book I actually did about, it was actually about 7 years ago. So I might, it's okay if I say it differently here because it actually might be, it'll actually come out a little bit differently on this topic. So management and leadership are two different things. Okay. Management is often something about managing people or managing a project. Okay. Or a program, whatever whichever you want to call these things, whatever level it is, and and it is about resources and doing all the things that you need to be able to make sure that the resources there at the right time with the amount of capacity to be able to do this thing, um, and to be able to do the tasks in order to get those tasks aligned for a certain arrival at a deliverable at some point in time. Okay, and a very specific point in time, and maybe different points in time as you're going. And those resources can be money, they can be people, they can be assets, they can be machines, computers, servers, they can be a lot of different things. Um, uh, and yeah, people are resources and that, and materials that need to arrive, and maybe different machines that need to arrive, and all these things to be able, and people to work with the machines or whatever. All these things are, and so it's managing and actually managing the people and their human resource needs, skill sets, and all the things that go with that, and their complaining and all the things you got to deal with that, and their politics and complaining between their people and all the and negotiations between the different stakeholders and all that. This is all about management. Okay, that is different than leadership, and that requires and so I'm come here that requires a specific skill set of a person to be a manager. Okay, um, which is different than someone that needs. I'm going to come to the leader. Leadership is a completely different thing. Um, we many people actually mix these up and think that they're the same thing. They are not the same thing. Leadership is providing vision for where you're going on something. It could be a team, it can be a department, it can be a division, it can be a project, it can be a program, it can be a product, it can be something. It's providing vision of where you're going. What is the North Star? Where are you going for this thing? Um, what is the critical path, or what are the different paths to get there? Um, and not only providing the vision, but providing the strategy to be able to get to that place. And it might be straight, linear, or it might be zigzagging. Okay, it might be doing that. And so that's what leadership is. I'm trying to be very generic here because there are slightly different things about this. Um, but this is kind of the overall thing of management versus leadership. So the people that are good managers, okay, I'm not saying good managers; those are successful managers, because you can have good manager actually doesn't mean that you are good. I mean, you're getting the tasks done. You need to get tasks done, and there's the difference between a management of people and a management of a project. Okay, and that's where it comes down to. So good project managers are those that actually manage the project and get the deliverables done on time, so you have visibility for whatever you're doing, right, and get it done. And people managers are different because they got to deal with people. Like, people are not robots. It's easy to manage robots, right? Because you just push the buttons and do it and make sure somebody pushes the buttons at the right time to make the robot work, right? And hopefully the robot are going to do its thing, right? It won't be like the Charlie Chaplin robot that feeds the people. I can't remember what it's called, where it's just slam in the face and stuff. Let's just assume that the robots do work. Okay, so the project manager in that would just be making sure that someone's pushing the buttons at the right time to feed the guy in the assembly, right, and it all works, and it doesn't slam him in the face and stop, and he lets him eat at the right time and all that. It just makes it work. Um, but the people manager just makes sure people manager in that kind of situation make sure that the people come and they're hungry to actually want to eat. Because if you're not hungry, then you're not going to eat, and you're not going to want to eat, right? So and they're not complaining about or finding ways to get the people not to complain and all that. I mean, so people managers are different than project managers. Now, these are different skill sets, and some cultures actually struggle with the whole thing of management, and some people struggle with the thing of leadership. And one of the things that is really important with, some people they're either a people manager or they're either a project manager, but they might not be both. Sorry, I got people coming in the store here to the place. Got to give a little bit of sunlight here in the window, but that's I got to deal with until the sun goes down over here because I can't pull the shades down. There's no shades. And so some people are either or both, and then some people can actually be both for the manager side, and then some people can be good leaders. And good doesn't, again, I'm being careful with the word good, because good doesn't mean that you're a good project manager doesn't mean you're a good people manager, because a good people manager can have different skills than a good project manager, okay? Because a project manager just gets the project done. The good people manager wants to make sure that the people don't. You can get a project done on time and burn out all your people, right? And then that's not good for the people. It's good for the project. It's good for the project to get the product done. Okay, got it. And then all the people are like out of work for they're taking a long break. But you kind of have good people managers that are really bad at project management because they can be thinking so much about the people, so much of people that they actually don't get anything done. Don't produce anything. That's actually not good either. Okay, so we got to be kind of careful with this. There can be competing here, and they can have the people that are good. They're good visionaries for leadership, but they actually not good at the operations behind. So that's why when you have a project, you want to make sure that you got a leader, but you got operational people behind them doing it to actually get the things done with the assets and the resources and the resources. Okay, so the kind of things you're going to run into here, and I got a little people on the side here, but you got people talking, but they're ordering food at the kiosks. So these are different things, and I've seen this done in different countries, and I've seen people struggle with this whole concept of the difference between these two things and how to do it. And that's the way it is. It is, and so, but so I want to bring this to how Americans are, because I've seen it done in many different countries where, in France, especially in Germany, in Ireland, in UK, and I'm saying, England mainly. And I've seen it done in Bulgaria. I've seen it done with folks in Brazil. I've seen things done with people in India and from China and Korea. Okay. I've seen all these different flavors of these, mainly the management part of it, because the leadership usually comes from a dominating country. Okay. I'm sorry to say that, but that's usually how it happens. Not always, but it is usually. So that's usually a European country somewhere. The leadership part. The management part is you can have, and how you happen the people management and the project management and the program management. Okay. And the financial management too, because you got to deal with financial management, right? So CFO and all that stuff, and your finance controllers and all that kind of financial controls and all that kind of stuff. So let's just bring this to Americans. Now, Americans, for the management part, okay, Americans, and I've known this for 30 years, at least 30 years, because I've been in industry for 30 years, but I did work in academia before that, and in small little business language school kind of stuff. Small companies that are doing private language school, small courses and stuff. You got to deal with some project management of these courses, but usually it's small enough that each teacher kind of handles their own thing. So there's not a lot. It's not really complex. It's kind of just like an Excel sheet. You kind of make sure that everybody's kind of there, and it's just kind of you're managing the resource and telling them when they got to be there at certain times. Okay, so that's not really that complicated. But for the past 30 years, I've been working in industry and business where you have to do this to a number of customers, and big customers, not small little no, or not small one-off things here and there with a small series of things. It's kind of big programs, big project, big programs. Now, Americans, what I've seen between them and others, and the way this is about understanding Americans, Americans believe, and I've seen this in the heartland of America. The heartland of America is the center where all the tornadoes are. Okay, all the tornadoes are. That's all I need to say. The heartland of America believe that anyone can manage a team. Anyone can manage a team. It doesn't matter if they're an expert or not. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you have the right skills to manage the team. That's either to manage the team people and or the product and the project. Okay? So anybody can do it. Even if they don't know the topic. They don't need to know the topic. They just have to have the skills to be able to keep the thing going on straight and keep it on track with like project management institute kind of things. You just go to the project management institute, get your PM book and kind of go through it and get your certification or whatever. Even if you go into certification, just do it. Follow the kind of things that you need to do for a project or a program, and you'll arrive at the end and you will have done all the things that you've done to keep it on track. And actually, a lot of people don't like the project managers, right? Because they're kind of bugging you all the time to get things done, to get the deliverables done, right? And then you get the people skills, and you get the people that manage people, and that's a little bit different. But you can say, hey, anybody can manage people if they got the people management skills. It doesn't matter if they know the topic that the people are actually doing, right? So there's actually this concept or this thing that Americans believe. Again, I've seen this several times in different places and in different states. I've lived in 5 different states. Well, the first state, actually, Minnesota, I was too young to actually see this. But I lived in Oregon from age 10 to 23, so I can say that, I saw this. I saw this believed in. And then I lived in Illinois where I saw this believed in. I saw in Indiana where, this was believed in. And I lived in Pennsylvania where, I saw this believed in too. So that's enough places to say that, there are, during the first, that was up to 23, and then from age probably, I don't remember, 28 to 32, 33-ish. I can't remember when I actually moved back to France, my actual birth number of years. It was 23 years plus 4 years later on, 4 years after. So it's that kind of thing, okay? 27, 28 to, 31, 32-ish, something like that. So that's why I saw these in these states. So I saw that principle done in different things. The Minnesota one will discount because I lived there when I was up till 8 years old, 8 or 9. So I mean, I didn't see this because I was too young to see this. Though I can, maybe people that if I went back there, I'd see it. And I talked to people. I've worked with people. Worked in Minnesota, and they say the same things now. But I haven't personally seen that. Okay, in people in Minnesota. Now I've lived in Europe where I've seen many people struggle with the whole idea of managing teams. And I've seen that in in what we call a waterfall cycle. I've seen that in working in agile and scrum teams. I've seen people struggle with this whole concept of even how to do these things. And I've seen people not struggle. And usually the difference between them is very simple. People in small startups and in Europe, people in small startups and in small businesses, you do it or you die. Okay, so you figure out the people skills, and you figure out you figure out the people skills, and you figure out the project management skills, or the company dies. Okay, so that's that simple. Or you find somebody else to do it that's better, or you just do it at least halfway, half baked and so that it works, and you deliver the thing and you sell your products or whatever your services, and you get it done so that it survives. And if people are really frustrated, they'll leave. So, I mean, really, really, really frustrated. And there's a bunch of that too. Now, but there's not this concept that there is this concept that you need to. I've seen it in France and Germany, France mainly, where I've seen that you need to have the skills to be able to manage the team. You need to have the skills of the topic to be able to manage the team. I've seen that, and that's part of in my working with the French article. I talk about that the people need to have credibility because they know the topic. However, when the whole kind of Scrum and Agile, I'm going to call them the same here, but they're really different. But I'm going to kind of combine them because they're usually combined in kind of the same approach. You do the Scrum approach for the team, then you try to do an Agile kind of approach to it. But the Scrum approach, the Scrum team organization is usually used in trying to do an Agile approach. Okay, so I'm just going to say it that way to kind of simplify this. But we've seen where you try to have like you try to take managers that were previous managers that knew the topic really well, and you make them line managers, and they're sometimes not good because they don't know how to really manage people that well. But you can take people that are experts on topics and make them line managers, and they really don't do well because they're not really people managers. So this kind of, and you can take people that are topics and know it well, they know the project very well, and you ask them to be project managers, and they can really suck at it because they don't know how to manage a project and do the deliverables. They can do the tasks, but they don't know how to actually push people to do deliverables, because you got to kind of be the person that people don't like. Sometimes that not necessarily people don't like, but you got to be a likable person. So it's kind of this tension you got to do, because you got to be the person that's behind them all the time, just drive them, and you're the person just irritating them, but have to get the thing done on time, right? That's kind of not a very recognized fun job. But then if you can have the people skills to actually do it so that they actually like doing it and they'll do it. Yeah, it's this balance. Okay, you got this balance. So there's this kind of tension, and the French do, and there's expectation you do have to know a tolerance, and you have to know the topics. Whereas the Americans say it doesn't matter. You don't. It doesn't matter if you know the topic or well. You just have to have the right skill set for that specific purpose, whatever you're doing. So this is different. This is a different approach here of how Americans take this and see it in managing something. And this can be, I've done this where I've actually applied some of the things that, hey, we gotta construct a toilet here in this building, and here's the things we have to do. And you have the timeline. I create a timeline to do it in MS projects, and I say, hey, it's gonna take this much time. You guys are underestimating the amount of work. And you're gonna do. And I said, you need to change this, this, and then you'll be able to do this amount of time. Yeah, I'm not a good toilet installer, but I know how to do that, to tell them, to get them going and to get them motivated and do it. And I'll help them do it. But some of them are way better at doing it than I am, okay? So doing the actual work. And I learn from it. But they need somebody to actually kind of say, whoa, you're off track. You're going to take you 2 or 3 times more time than you expected. So let's kind of adjust things here. So that's the kind of way project manager skills come in place. Whereas they hadn't even seen this. They didn't get it because they were thinking in there the tasks to do without thinking the bigger picture. Or some people skills of certain things where you got to go through pretty heavy negotiations of some pretty delicate things. That, I've done a lot of that too, and I know how to walk in and do it. And I'm not saying I'm great at that, but I'm pretty good at doing it and figure it out. And I learn more every single time I do one because it's more difficult all the time. And it's always getting into more difficult challenges because you get into more complex stuff, right? So, but I know a lot of people don't even want to touch what I've touched. They just scares them to death in Europe. They just scares them because it's just like, this is way over their head. Whereas for me, it's like, I got the skill set, go do it. Go get it, make it happen. So this is why the management things, and what happens a lot in European cultures I've seen, is you can get a lot of situation of the, you divide to conquer and reign. Um, in French, it's divide to reign, and I think we said in English, divide to conquer. At least what I remember hearing. I don't say it all the time in English. I say more in French. But yeah, divide to conquer, and then in French, it's divide to reign, where your goal is to actually divide up people so that you're actually controlling it. So, whereas some Americans do that, but a lot won't, because it's just not the goal. The goal is to get everybody to work together, and then you get the thing done, and you work together as a team. Whereas in Europe, it's kind of you want to get the attention so that you keep people under the control, so you do it. So you actually don't get things done in time, but you're still keeping in control in a different way. So this is a way different approach to doing things. Not saying that any of these cultures can't do it the other way, but I'm saying these are kind of generalizations that I've seen and it's said, and I've seen it, and it's come out to be true in a lot of different contexts. So this all comes to play when you start getting into, and I've taken a lot of courses too, and negotiations and influencing without authority and project management and I can't think of all these different kinds of things. I'm lots of courses I've taken in addition to just doing it and publishing about it and telling about it and doing conferences about it and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm not saying I'm great at all of them at all the time, and sometimes you get into situations where you get into bits that are you got to play with a lot of different politically moving parts, and it gets kind of really complicated. And you can make you can make wrong decisions at wrong times, especially if you don't know the information you need to know. That's one of the key things about doing this kind of management stuff is that you need to know who has what authority. And this all comes to what you learn in sales classes and sales coaching is you learn who has the percentage of the authority or the decision in a process or some point to be able to do something, and you've got to figure that out. And sometimes it gets really complicated. You don't have that information to make that decision. You still have to make the decision. You don't have a choice, and you get a timeline and all that. So that's all comes into play. So these management and so I'll come down to what the kind of the skill sets that are good here, which I mentioned in the other video in the other book, but here I'll kind of mention again in a slightly different way. So who are good at what? Which of these skills? And then how is it for the Americans? So usually a visionary, a person who's a leader, a true leader, okay? Not a fake leader, but a true leader. A true leader. Who has vision and strategy to get the vision done. The strategy to get the vision. They get the idea, but they're going to need the other people to help them often do the strategy. I'm not saying the strategy can be done by another team, but they have the desire to make that strategy happen, and they have the vision to do it. It's not just we'll kind of go somewhere. We'll get along, and we'll just all be happy at the end. Okay, that's not leadership. That's not leadership. That's just keeping the boat afloat. Okay. It's just not good leadership at all. Leadership is I have a vision to do this, and we will do this, and we're going to do this, and we will keep pitching it. The people who have this are usually good salespeople. They just have good salespeople, and they can pitch it. And their goal is to actually get the funding, to get the resources, and and they're good at getting the resources. Would it be money, people, whatever? Leaders are good at getting that, and they do it well. Good leaders get the resources. That's all I'm going to say. That they just do it. They figure out how to do it, and they do it. And they find a way to make it happen, whatever way you have to use. Whatever tactic you need to make that happen, they make it happen. Okay? They just do. And bad leaders, well, they struggle with on and on and on and on again. Okay? So that's just the way it is. Managers, on the other hand, are those that make sure that they have the skill sets that are so obviously in finance. It's financial people, the funding, the finance people are, they're usually accountants and kind of have accounting background, which are kind of not always the most sociable people, right? so people that handle the finance parts of things are usually be accountants, which are usually not sociable people. Okay, that's just the way it is. Seen that a lot. Okay, seen a lot. Then you've got project managers who have gone through project management, courses and stuff. they tend not to be the people that you like because they're the ones that are kind of harping on you all the time to get something done. So you got to have to be a person that's kind of got tough skin, thick skin, and you're willing to just get teared at all the time. But you're just telling people, get it done, get it done, get it done. And why isn't it done? Get it done. Why you don't have it done? You know, they're the kind of harping on people. Then you have the people managers, which can have a set of skills. Now you can have a good people manager that really is bad at managing a project. Okay, so saying that I already said this already, but seen that where a good person that has intention to keep the people and help the people and try to keep the people motivated, and to encourage them and all that, and accompany them in things, and make sure they actually might cause a project to fail because they're focusing too much on the people part. That happens too. And so all this is kind of a complex matrix, but these are the kind of different skills you got and the different types of people. And the kind of people that have those people skills tend to be the arts and letters kind of people. Okay, tend to be, because they're more arts and letters kind of background. They're a little more, I don't want to say creative, but they're not so science focused. Okay, the people that get the tasks done, that really get the good tasks done and are good at doing tasks, tend to be those, the science and technology and math kind of folks do that. I'm generic here. I'm being generic. Okay, I'm not trying to say that it's always that, but if you want to set skills, people, these are the kind of skills that you'll see in this kind of thing. And the project managers have thicker skin than the people that are people managers. The people managers just some don't have their thick skin, and so they kind of like fold under when you have the first attack on them. They just fold under, head in the ground, just like an ostrich. So this whole kind of thing, and you got to have people that are going to be confrontational. People that are confrontational are good project managers because they're the ones that can actually get the thing negotiated and get through. Okay, whereas people that manage people, they might actually not be good for managing people. Not always. Okay, it kind of depends. So the Americans, bringing this back down to the Americans will try to find those skills and get the people with the right skills to do that job because they don't want the thing to mess up. There's other words for that one too, okay, to mess up. I'm not going to say that one here because I'm in a restaurant, and it doesn't matter because I'm in a French restaurant, but they would understand that word if I said that word, so I'm not going to say it here. But what's important here is that to see that Americans will usually try to focus on the skill sets and then put the appropriate people into that so that they can be successful. And often in a low hierarchy, kind of flat horizontal thing. Whereas the Europeans in general they'll have a high hierarchy kind of setup. This is Melissa Lamson. Just go look up the three generic traits for being successful or knowing how your business works and working stuff. I mean, she talks about the low hierarchy and high hierarchy, and so Europeans tend to have this hierarchy thing in general. Not also the British, but other continental Europeans, because there's a whole history of that, which comes back from kings and fiefs and all these different levels down to the little peasants, so that kind of thing. So there's that kind of high hierarchy thing that you got to deal with. And so when you come to the today's world of the cloud and agile and Scrum and all these things, and what do you want to iterative, whatever, and continuity and kind of continuous stuff. A lot of people just don't know how to do this because they're kind of trying to work on what they've already been acquired before and what they're good at doing. What happens is Americans tend to, I'm not saying we always do it, but we tend to take on challenges. Tend to take on the challenge, say, hey, we're going to embrace and do it, and we're going to make it happen. Doesn't matter. We'll do it because we have certain skills that allow us to do this, and we'll make sure we have the skills or learn it quickly enough and do it. It's not everybody, the extroverts are a little bit better at this than introverts, obviously, because there's a lot of this. You got to go into the Briggs-Meyer kind of stuff and begin to look at the different kind of personality types and all that. That plays a part here. So I'm not denying that. But if you've got a project where you're not sure where it's going, um, and you're not sure how it's going to work out, and usually a good thing is to put an American that has no problem taking on Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt kind of things, right? So um, I'm not saying it's always true, but I'm saying that an American will probably do that because they've always grown up with the thing that I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. The little train, there's that little train going up the hill with the comic books, that little comic book, the train, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Where you know, a lot of the Europeans are like, you know, they don't want to do it unless they've been told they got to do it. Okay, I mean there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. You can see that in the German kind of a culture where you need to be wait to be told to do, or the French culture will kind of do it, but they'll do it behind the scenes, and it's called a system de, and that's you'll do it because you're going to make it work, but you're not, but you don't want to be seen doing it and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved, but this helps understand. And I'm not saying it's always good. I'm not saying it's all good. I'm not always good to put American on things to do management and leadership because they may have such a bold vision that they will do it, and they'll drive their people crazy because because they'll get the resources to get the money or to get part of it. But then the people management behind the scenes, if they haven't taken care of that, or they haven't made sure they get the right person to do the kind of the operations aspects of it, and don't have the right person with the right skills to make it happen, it might not actually work. It's possible it might not work out. But but the thing is, why are Americans good at selling? Is because they got vision. They know how to sell what they want to sell. And that's why they get the headcount, they get the people, they get the resource, they get the funding, they get the assets, they get the servers, get all this stuff. Because they're good at selling this and making sure that it comes across as pertinent, and they're not going to wait to get down to the main point of the thing at the last paragraph of a like 10 paragraph email. They're going to just say it all up front. Da 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 da. Here's why here's what I need, and here's what I need. And then we'll talk about the details of it. Whereas Europeans kind of want to go through the whole history of the whole thing and all that kind of stuff. And you can see I'm influenced by the Europeans here because some of these videos I'm having to kind of give a background because I think at some points it's important to give the background of why we're doing it, because the book you usually have, you know, the book is kind of, you can do that way. Whereas if I do a pitch in a little 5-minute setting, I do it a completely different way, just totally different. But this is the book. So here is, look at that kind of thing when you're in a situation where you've got a management situation, managing people, managing resources, managing time, managing money, managing whatever. Go into that and look at that kind of thing and consider that. And then look at your leadership when you've got to have leadership issues and you want to deal with things. Look at who you've got in place and what you're doing, and is that person appropriate for that kind of role? Because sometimes the person might not actually be appropriate for it. They're in a role that they're not good at, they don't have the skills of doing. And if they don't have the skills of doing it, and they don't recognize they don't have the skills of doing, they're not going to ask for help from people to help them do the thing that they need to do. And so they might not actually accomplish the task as a leader or as a manager. So this is, yeah. Whereas Americans, again, I'm not saying they're best, but they will sometimes put the right people in the thing to start with, because you know that you got to have that person to be able to make that happen. So that's the difference, and that's why American projects and American somebody be practical. They're very practical. They're very, they get down to the down to earth, where the rubber hits the road immediately to do things. They will put the right people in there and to make it successful, and they won't. Their goal is not to sit there and do checklists, because there are cultures. Hey, there's a Melissa Lamson's 3 different axes. She talks about the process oriented versus results oriented, and the Americans tend to be results oriented, not just process, unless they lived overseas in the culture where it's very process oriented. So you can have Americans that have gone to like a culture like Germany, which is very process oriented, that believes that an Excel sheet is a deliverable, or is an important accomplishment, where it's not. It's just a sheet to be able to manage the thing. That's all. It's not a deliverable. I mean, well, it can be a deliverable. It's not and it's not an accomplishment. Okay, not at all. Nothing to be, not achievement. Just not. Um, but you can have some people that have lived over there in maybe Germany for a long time and have adapted to have acculturated that so much that then they believe that, why? Because I fill out the Excel sheet, I've done something. You see, so it's that kind of thing. Where I'm not saying that Excel sheets are bad. I'm not saying that but they're not results. They're not results. They are just accompanying documentation to prove that you did something for compliance or whatever, or for proof, for auditing or whatever. But they're not results. Except, well, yeah, in my book here, I've got an Excel sheet. I got a thing, but it's not my result, right? My result is my videos. It's my videos I'm talking about, right? And publishing the videos. I'm using the Excel sheet just to help me organize and to give a visual thing so that I can actually talk about it, right? So that's not the result. It's just a means to the end. So these are things that for the leadership and management concept is really important to understand. And again, Americans believe that you can have anyone manage. You can have a person with a degree, with a PhD in history, that can manage a team of mathematicians doing, product engineering, creating you can have that kind of person doing that. They believe that you can do that if the person has the right skills to do that. That's all. Or you can have a person that has, a degree in, I don't know, geography, that can actually manage, I don't know, whatever, cooking, a bunch of cooks. Possible. Just totally possible if the person has the right skills. See, it's about the skill set. It's not about the degree. It's about having the right skills to be able to happen, and that's what it comes down to. Whereas a lot of Europeans, it's the degree, it's the diploma and the degree that actually give you the ability to have that role. It's not so much experience. And experience should actually be in the same thing, which Americans don't believe that you have. You don't have to have. One key thing about Americans too here, about this whole thing, and it fits into that, is that a lot of Americans actually. I have lots of friends that I went to college, university with, and high school with, that are not at all doing jobs in the field that they actually got their degree or diploma in. Not at all. They're doing other things because they've got other skills. See, this is the key. This is a big key thing. This fits into this whole management and leadership whole thing. It doesn't matter what your degree was when. It doesn't matter if you did a degree, or it doesn't matter if you have a degree. It just matters if you have the experience and the thing you need to do, and you get the skills to be able to do it, right? But a lot of Europeans, I'll say very much for the French, where my background is like freaks out HR people because they don't know what to do with me, because I got so many different degrees, and I got so much different varied work experience and diplomas. They just don't know what to do with it, because they're just not used to this. They're not used to. They need somebody that's linear. That's only done one thing and has done that thing their entire career in life. That's kind of changing. It's slightly changing now, but I've kind of been haunted by this for 30 years. Because I have to make different CVs all the time, different curriculum vitaes and different resumes every single time I get a job. It's like poof, I'm so done. I finally just said, hey, forget it. I'm just gonna make one, and I'm gonna make videos, and I'm gonna explain how it is, and that works really, really well now. So it took me a long time to figure that one out, but just not to be ashamed of the background and stuff, and not try to make so many CVs and resumes. It doesn't matter. It just it took a while to kind of figure that out. But it took a while to kind of, I think of my level two of come to that. I understood that, but not everybody at the beginning, or it's the kind of thing having too much experience too. But here, so I hope this kind of gives a little bit of feeling of how Americans are, and it's not always good. Okay, it's not good. This can actually backfire. Having Americans actually trying to manage sometimes some things that are in Europe, fully European, if they haven't got a background in doing handling projects with people from Europe or in other cultures, they can actually make it go bad. It's possible, because they're trying to use them. If they've not ever lived overseas or stuff, if they've not tried to adapt, So, and they will be very results oriented, whereas if the people are not very results oriented, it can kind of block because the people are all kind of, well, we just want to cross our check our checklists and stuff. An American will just like not put up with that, and not just say that isn't it. So you can have that backfire. Okay, it's kind of, you gotta have to understand that. So again, make sure that got things aligned. You get that people kind of working together to make that happen and make it. And especially if you got Americans on it, or if you got Americans working with others, because they will just call out the people and say, "Hey, you're not doing that. you're not. I know I'll tell people they're bluffing me. I will do that if they're bluffing me. And again, that goes back to the whole transparency and trust thing that had been in another chapter. Um, so people, if they haven't got it, I will tell them that, they're not giving the truth, and they better just stop not giving the truth. Just stop, or they need to stop talking about things they don't know, because if they don't, I'm just going to tell them. Which in Europe you would never say that. In European, you can do that because you're kind of fearful of hurting people, whereas American says, "Hey, just get to the point, done." Get this done, results. It's not the process that's so much important; it's the results. But in some of the other cultures, it's the process that's important, and that you actually go through that process, which can actually be very good. It can actually, because you'll learn things in the process as well. The process can actually be a journey, but that's not always good either. Okay, so you don't want to spend so much in the process that you actually don't get any results. If you don't get any results, you won't get people to help you or to do things, because you won't have anything to prove to actually show that you're actually getting results, so you can get people to actually in time and resources. See, this is the whole chicken and the egg thing. So don't spend too much time in the process without getting results, but don't try to get results without going through a process that has benefit. There's all this stuff kind of comes into play. So hopefully that's helped, made people think about it. What do you think about it? It'd be good to hear your feedback, um, and let me know. And see if where things might can be verging, or we have different opinions or whatever, and different anecdotes and different stories and stuff to help understand that. Thanks so much.